Well, welcome back, everyone. This next interview is going to be a bit of a departure for us, but I can't tell you how excited I am about it. Quick background. The other night, my wife and I are leaving the ballet. I hear my name being mentioned. I look over. This guy's standing there. This is Paul Kolnik. He's a world-renowned photographer, and Paul and I first met in 1977. I hate to admit that, by the way, but it happens to be true. So I invited Paul to come on today because you just have to see some of his photographs and some of the backstories on some of these photographs. So first, welcome, Paul. It's great to have you.
And good to see you again,
Yeah,
Jesse.
my God, I can't believe it, Paul.
I know.
I mentioned that Paul's a world-renowned photographer. We're going to prove that right away, or show you right away. We have two posters with us, Paul, right?
Yes.
About two shows recent shows. One that's, I think, both are going on now?
Both are going on. It's
Okay.
Balanchine's 110th anniversary this year.
Right.
So I wanted to do something to mark that occasion.
Right.
And in Tbilisi, Georgia, Balanchine is Georgian.
That's right.
They loved the idea, and they built a whole festival around it, and it was the reopening of their main museum in their capital city.
Boy, that's pretty remarkable. Can we show that poster? I would like people to see that.
One of the things I love about this is Balanchine with Mikhail Baryshnikov in Prodigal Son, a ballet he did for Diaghilev's Ballet Russe. And what I love about the poster is they did it in both Georgian and English.
Yes, right.
So it was just interesting to see that script. And you know, they love Balanchine. Georgia, Russia, and the United States kind of all claim Balanchine as their own.
Boy, that's very true. You know, if you go back and you look at the history of the company, yeah, okay, thank you. If you go back and look at the history of the country, ballet wouldn't even be in this country without George Balanchine.
Yeah.
And Mr. B, as he's referred to, within the inner circle, within the company, correct? Second poster we want to show you is from a current show that's going on in Moscow.
Yes.
My God.
This is fantastic. We just got back from Moscow Sunday night, had Monday to get ready, and came up on Tuesday and started photographing the ballet again. But this has been a wonderful show. The Russians adore ballet. When I was there, I was on Russian television, 6 or 7 newspapers and magazines did articles, and they would talk to me, and they would literally, tears in their eyes, loving the pictures and the ballet. Is just an extraordinary thing to see.
Right. Now, outside of the fact that, you know, these are world-renowned shows, and again, you're very humble about your success, there's qualities to your photo that are so uniquely Paul Kolnik. We have a series of 3 photos we're going to show you in a row. And if you don't mind, Paul, would you just, as we're moving through the 3 photos, just give us a little bit of your vision for these photos?
Absolutely.
Would you? Okay, put the first one up, please. Oh, my God.
So this one, David's Bundelatänzer is the name of the ballet. George Balanchine in the center, Suzanne Farrell on the right, Peter Martins and Heather Watts on the left.
Wow. And
actually Jacques d'Amboise's hand off to the right by Suzanne. It was just an incredible moment for me. It's obviously a rehearsal. And this is one picture when I saw him raise his arms. It was just, I knew there was magic, you know, and I've loved this picture.
I think it's
forever.
spectacular. Can we see the next one, please? There.
Serenade, the first ballet Mr. Balanchine did in the United States. What I love about this photo is there is the group of women on the right all supporting each other in one manner or another, and then you have the lone dancer, Ashley Bowder in this case, almost like a punctuation mark, like an exclamation mark, free and in the air. And to me it shows this wonderful sense of Balanchine where you have this group and then this individual dancer at the same time. And for me, it's kind of what I often look for in images. It's not just one dancer, but it's the interplay between the dancer and a group of dancers and a single dancer.
And the music as well, of course.
Yes, and Balanchine loved Tchaikovsky. It was one of the great things about having the show in Russia is to purposely pull out a number of Tchaikovsky ballets and Stravinsky ballets. Balanchine just has a deep Russian spirit and soul.
Boy, he certainly does. Next photo, please. Oh, iconic. Oh, Wendy Whalen.
Yeah, Wendy Whalen and Ask Lacour in Orpheus. And what I like about this is, this is a very recent photograph, and anything recent I photograph digitally, and essentially that means it's in color. But most of the time when I have exhibitions, I really prefer black and white. I think it really deals with the architecture and the emotional response of chiaroscuro, black and white, and shadings.
Right.
And Wendy, sad for us all, she will be retiring.
This is right at the end of this season, correct?
Yeah, it'll be her last time in Saratoga. Her final performances with the company will be in the fall, but she is dancing tonight, Friday, and tomorrow, Saturday.
Right. Something that just reminded me when I was looking at this, if visually, you could be an amateur photographer. The composition is so beautiful, but capturing the moment is even more of an artistic, how do you always manage to catch that? And, we were talking about Mr. Balanchine, loving Tchaikovsky, Stravinsky, any of the Russian composers, but I always loved the line that he made music visible.
Right.
Remember that?
Right.
And actually you're capturing that, as
Thank
you
you.
well know, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to show another photo, and then we'll come back and talk. And the reason I want to show this photo is that it's one thing to capture the action that's going on the stage, but it's another thing to capture the drama and the intimacy or the feeling that a dancer has at that moment, which transcends the physical dance.
Right. I think I always adore this picture also. Darcy Kistler in the foreground.
Right, and Jock Soto.
Jock Soto. And, lest we forget, the leg with a point shoe.
Yes.
For me, everything, there's a reason for everything in my photos. But yeah, you can see the look on Darcy's face. It's just ecstatic. She is just so in the moment. I think one of the things about the best dancers is really being in the moment. And
well, that's absolutely certain. And that kind. Can you come back to us, please? The ability to, you can't script something like that.
Right.
It's you can see how deeply she feels at that particular moment, and now that you've been able to capture it, it lives forever.
Right.
Which is insane.
Yeah, and I think one thing I'd like to say is.
Yes.
What happens is people think, oh, you know the ballet so well. Lincoln Kirstein actually once said to me early on, we were having a dinner at his house, and he said, oh, Paul captures the ballet so well because he knows them. And I said, well, Lincoln, that's not really it. It's really about being there in the moment, not with what you think should happen, but what is actually happening. And to me, it's a very important point. And I often talk about Heraclitus, this philosopher who said, we might not know his name, but I think we all know his saying, which is, you can't step in the same river twice.
Right.
That's what happens with dance. If I go there expecting, oh, here's where they jump, or here's where they do this, each dancer dances differently. The music might be different. There might be a traffic jam on stage.
That's right.
Everything shifts. So for me, it's just really important to be in the moment that's happening, not the one that we wish were there.
And the other thing also, when you see ballets performed by different dancers, is an interpretation.
Right.
So Merrill Ashley would have looked at it completely different than Darcy Kistler, or Suzanne Farrell. They all had very distinctive styles about it, and it was their interpretation.
And that's the beauty of live dance.
Right.
Mr. B often said, my ballets don't exist without dancers.
That's right.
People say how great his ballets were. Absolutely true. But he had that homage and respect, knowing it's the dancer. And in these exhibitions that I have going on now, another one in St. Petersburg in the fall, and hopefully in Paris and Denmark next year, it's to have both these classic images as well as, for me, new classic images of what the company is doing now. These dancers, they're also spectacular.
That's right.
And dance somehow exists always in the present moment. There's something about that. It's what a dancer did, in that split second. So for me, what is happening is so important.
Right.
For me, what is happening could have taken place 40 years ago, or
Right.
it can take place tonight,
Right,
tomorrow
and
when
you
I'm
don't
shooting.
know. There's so much.
Yeah.
There's a lot of magic in that.
Absolutely.
So, in terms of Saratoga, I know you have a real love of Saratoga.
I adore it.
I know.
1977 is when I first started photographing here. And in a way, I think I grew up with the town as the town was growing up into its new phase.
That's right.
You know, Mrs. London's.
Mrs. London's.
You know, it's all these stores started growing up, and I adore it. I just ran into an old dancer, and they said, "Oh, I remember when you told me to go to Lyrical Ballad Bookstore."
Oh my God!
You know,
Yeah.
it's like all these things that I love about this town. You know?
And you like to shoot in Saratoga also.
I
And
do.
you mentioned, you know, before we went on camera tonight, Paul mentioned to me about shooting matinees. You know, you would assume immediately that you would want to shoot at night because of the contrast or the darkness as opposed to the light.
Right.
But you had a very interesting thought about shooting matinees.
Yes, for me, what happens in Saratoga can't happen anywhere else.
Right.
The human eye, it's easy to see if things are light and dark. You have a dancer in the front with a spotlight. You have scenery in the background. The human eye can see all that.
Right.
Digital cameras or film, we have a lot less range of contrast. So if the spotlighted dancer is correct exposure, it almost goes black in the background.
Right.
With a matinee here, where the light comes in, it's
The natural light.
the natural light comes in. It's kind of for the camera as one intends to see it. You see that background. Just yesterday at the matinee, I was photographing Justin Peck's new ballet.
Oh, fabulous ballet.
Fantastic. And it has this great backdrop, geometric backdrop that changes. In the city, it's really hard, even with the magic of Photoshop, to just pull things out. I was just amazed because as I was photographing it here, everything is how it should be seen by the human eye. You just saw all this geometry behind the dancers, and it just
It comes
became
together. Right.
as it should be.
You know, Paul is mentioning a ballet, a Justin Peck ballet,
Yeah.
that premiered past spring in New York City and premiered the other night. My wife and I went to see it. We were just blown away. Now, for those of you who may want an opportunity to see that ballet, they're performing it tonight, except, by the time you see this interview, Saturday matinee.
Saturday matinee. In the afternoon again.
Yeah, in the
Yay for
afternoon,
me.
right. Yay for you. So, yeah, if you see this guy sitting there with a camera, then you
Dead
know
center.
who he is. That's right.
Dead center. Only in Saratoga.
And next week, next year, 50th anniversary.
Right.
So the ballet is back to 2 weeks, everybody.
Right.
And that brings a special aura in terms of the temperament of the company.
Yeah, it's, you know, the company I think has always enjoyed coming here. I know Peter loves it. And, you know, what happens is this year when we were here for just the 1 week, it's not even a week really. It's
That's right.
essentially
It's like 5
Tuesday through Saturday. Some dancers have to leave Saturday night or Sunday morning. They don't get to have that same kind of Saratoga experience that they have by virtue of being here for that second week, or in years to come, third week.
Third week,
you
right.
get these 2-day weekends, which the dancers get to walk around town more. They get to go to the restaurants, enjoy a meal instead of rehearsing all day, performing all night. There are sometimes graciously people have lovely parties for the company. So you get that real Saratoga summer sense
That's right.
of the ballet season for them.
Right.
So I think everyone is really happy, and obviously, you know, we all hope people come more often.
That's right.
And that way you also start seeing the dancers doing what they want to do, you know, at their time off,
Sure.
ambling through the streets of Saratoga.
Saratoga, that's right. And that harkens back to the days in the 70s and 80s, you know. But that's really true. I used to see between week 1 and week 3 that the dancers were so comfortable, they were all more at home.
Right.
And you saw that, it became visible in their interpretation and in the way that they were approaching their roles.
There is something about Saratoga that way.
That's right.
The company ought to be more exhausted because they've just finished a spring
That's
season.
right.
And
Right.
every year, as I mentioned, since 1977, they come up here and they dance like they're just getting started. You know, there is this energy and ease. And again, I was just noticing that last night, like, how are they doing this? You know, but they look fantastic. And I think there is something about your sort of city life is a little bit left behind. You're not worrying about what bills you have to pay, laundry doing here, there, whatever.
Right.
And you sort of get into this kind
spirit.
of perfect bubble of
Right.
performing and being here.
Well, I told you we'd be able to talk about this for hours. We are out of time. I just want to ask the guys in the control room, there's one iconic shot of two dancers that are so near and dear to the hearts of people in Saratoga. And
Right.
it's Peter Martins and Suzanne Farrell.
Right.
And for those of you that know who they are, fine. Those who don't, you should go do a little homework to find out. These are two principal dancers from the company. Oh, great, we have the shot. There it is. Tell us about that shot.
Well, it's what I love. 1977 in Saratoga. I was sitting in row F, seats 1 and 3. I mean, I also remember the number of this picture, 112-36.
Oh, my
That's
God.
how much I love this picture. But it was right here in Saratoga. And Saratoga just offers, for me, just a fantastic vantage point. And, you know, this is at the beginning of my career here, but it's, again, a perfect moment. And as Peter Martins has often called it, he goes, oh, yes, the classic Diamonds picture. You know,
Yes, exactly right.
There's something perfect about it. And part
is.
of the reason it happened is, you know, here in Saratoga. It's
That's
a perfect
right.
viewpoint.
You know, it's
for
so
me.
funny because, Paul, I also remember that.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and that is an iconic photo of two principal dancers that are so near and dear to everyone in Saratoga. Boy, what an honor to have you here. I'm telling
it's
you, this
great.
is
And
so
great
much
to see
fun.
you again, Jesse.
I know, I can't believe it after all these years. All right, we're going to wrap it up. You want to see this interview again? Please head to our website, looktvonline.com.